Hey, my name is Hitam, and this video is gonna be about movement. Great, let's get started. Hi guys, I know, it's been months, but I was busy with moving, getting a new job, and writing my thesis, which meant less time to make videos. So maybe a heads up in the future, I don't upload videos on a regular basis. I do this for fun anyway, and they take a bit of time. Anyway, I haven't been doing things entirely unrelated to animation or art. Perhaps this is interesting to some of you. I wrote my thesis on attempting to generate in-between frames automatically. Basically, I tried teaching a computer this by showing it lots and lots of examples, but some limitations led to results that were not that exciting. There's definitely potential there, though. If there are any programmers out there looking for a passion project and have access to a good GPU and have an understanding of machine learning, I doubt anyone watching it does, but imagine if somebody fixed that, it could potentially save you half the work of creating an animation. Alright, enough of that. I did some warm-up drawings before I started animating, because generally my first few drawings are terrible, and it's good practice. So I had this idea in mind of animating a swordsman practicing swords play. So I looked up some people sword fighting, and it's really important to get an understanding of the movement if you have no idea how a swordsman moves. So I urge you, if you are starting out, to notice how people move, where they shift their weight, and how objects move in general. And you can do this by looking at video or animation frame by frame. That really helps too, to get an understanding of the spacing between the frames. So I just looked up some kendo, kung fu, and fencing videos, and then I started animating. So I started out drawing the striking pose, because this was the most fun. I noticed here that to get the most reach, it's better to turn the hip forward instead of to the side, and these small changes really add to the pose. So after that, I tried to draw several different poses from where the swordsman is striking from, and I tried many poses before actually settling on one. Don't be afraid to completely discard a drawing or even several frames just to get the right frames that actually work. So I was looking for a pose that shifts the weight of the person from his right leg to his left. And I settled on a lower angle where he's basically just falling into his left leg, just giving him that momentum to strike. You can see here, he's putting his weight into his right foot, specifically his toes, and his toes are planted on the ground. And a lot of beginners make the mistake of drawing the foot position on the ground in several different positions. But if it's on the ground, you should keep those toes where they are. This is of course only the case when he's putting weight on his toes. If he's not, and for example he's walking and he's shifting his weight to his left leg, the right leg could come up. At this point things went a bit quicker, and I sped this part up a bit more. You'll notice that the beginning frames and the end frames are much closer to each other than the middle frames. And this is because he's basically gaining speed as he's falling down, and he's increasing the distance between frames. Whereas after he strikes and stretches his body, he will slow down and absorb that momentum if he doesn't hit anyone. And this process is called easing. It's basically increasing the distances between the frames so you create some sort of acceleration. So here I want him to get up on his toes so he can drop down from a higher height to create more momentum. But you can't just get on your toes from an idle position without moving anything else. You would have to shift your weight over your toes to create balance. Otherwise you would fall backwards. So the idea here is to make his torso lean to the side over his toes while also lifting his left leg. Consequently, this means that his hip position would have to change again, and that's what I'm adjusting here. I finished up by animating his torso, and I saw these kung fu moves where your hand that is not holding the sword basically goes into the opposite direction. So I thought it would be interesting to make his right hand make this circular motion before the strike. And I'm making his head tilt upwards when he's striking as well. And I'm speeding up this part quite a bit because you can see this better in the final animation, which I'll show next. So, okay, so let's take a look at the final animation. And let's take a look at it from a closer point of view. I went ahead and marked his right hand with a red blob, just so you can see the movement it's making throughout the whole motion of the stabbing. So if I look at, oops, just a sec. Here you go. So if I look at the flow of his right hand, you can see this is like some sort of rotation movement, and then it basically goes in and then goes backwards. And what this means with the animation itself, he's rotating his hand, and as soon as he strikes, he goes backwards. And the same thing, I've done the same thing for his right hand. So if I look at the whole arc, it kind of goes in a rotated movement, like so, and he stabs. And again I did the same with his left foot. I did the same with the left foot. And you can see here, again, in some sort of arc. So if I look at the movement, it goes like this. Another thing to note, if you look at his head, at this point, he's stretched all the way, and his head is slightly tilted backwards, just to create the illusion of stretching even more. And then what happens is your body is stretched all the way through, and you want to you kind of are forced to contract a bit. So afterwards, you go slightly forward more, and then you contract. See this? That slight distance gives it a feeling of all of the momentum kind of bouncing backwards. One of the important things to note here is that the motion follows a clear path. So it's not really deviating much from the path. And if you did, so say for instance this hand was drawn here or here, it will create, or it would disturb the path it was going to, so that wouldn't make sense. So keep in mind whenever you're animating is to focus on the individual parts and how they move throughout the animation, and also how they all come back together. So it should all flow. Let me see if I can show this. When you look at the whole animation, let me remove all these annoying things. When you look at the animation, you will see he's kind of contracting here, and then when he stabs, he's creating a lot of distance between the frames in this part, especially his upper body. And as soon as he's stabbed, he goes back into more of an idle position, so not as much distance between the frames. And these small details really matter in animation. I mean, it's probably gonna last for like a second, but all these things are important to establish a world which abides by physics in some sort of way. I mean, you can alter it, but you're still kind of mimicking real life motion, right? Okay, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. I will answer them in the comment section below. And yeah, good luck animating. See you guys.